Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. You're here with Eric and my friend Scott. Welcome, Scott.
Hello.
I don't know if you all know, but Scott is our agronomist, the Garden Fork resident agronomist. And he lives in Canada. And Scott, you're really active on our Garden Fork discussion group on Facebook. And Rick and I were talking about fertilizers, and you emailed me, and you are the fertilizer expert. And so here we are. Thanks for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Why don't we, for people that haven't heard you on the show before, you've been a guest before, but a little bit about your professional world and your home world.
Yeah, well, I guess an agronomist is someone who studies or works with crops and soils, so it's specific to agriculture. And so it's everything from, I guess it's a lot of planning out the year, using soil tests, coming up with fertilizer recommendations, and then monitoring the crop and recommending any sprays or any stuff that needs to be done during the season. So that's what an agronomist does. So and I like it so much that I also garden. So I guess I just enjoy working with plants and soils and stuff like that. So,
but in your day job, you do this on a huge scale.
It's a huge scale, yeah. It would be it's commercial agriculture, like it's the full scale agriculture. So
what kind of things are you growing?
Well, our main crop is potatoes, and but then, and I think you guys have talked about it too, like with rotation, like you can't just grow the same crop year after year on one piece of land. So we have a 4-year rotation where we'll put other crops like wheat or barley. We'll grow canola, and we also have soybeans that we grow. And actually this year we tried growing yellow peas, which was something different for me to try. So
how'd it work out?
Pretty good. It was pretty neat seeing a whole, because like our fields are about 130 acres, because it's we're irrigated.
Right, it's these big circles.
Yep, big circular fields. So typically a field is 160 acres, which is half mile by half mile.
Wow.
To get scale. And this entire field was peas. So we planted them in early April, and they grew just like what you would have garden peas, except that we let them fully mature until they dry. They fully mature and dry, and harvest them. And I'm not sure exactly what the end market is. I think possibly they go. I think some of them end up as animal feed, and some of them may end up getting shipped to India for the pulse market there. So.
Yeah, I think they make dal out of yellow peas, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. It's kind of something new to me, but it was kind of neat. Like these pea plants, like when they some of them some areas of the field got to be over 3 feet tall, and so there's a certain point when you just can't walk through the field. It's just it's like a mat of peas.
Wow. In
there, like that was the the very high growing areas, but typically they were maybe about 1 to 2 feet tall, but once they get going, they all intertwine together, and it was pretty neat seeing it. So
peas do that. And then in your home garden, I know you've shared a bunch of pictures of that. What have you been up to?
Well, this year I had just many issues that I think happen to gardeners, and I just didn't get things planted the way I wanted to. So I didn't quite get as much planted in it as in the past. But the pumpkins and cucumbers are doing well, and getting some tomatoes and peppers. I didn't get my carrots planted in time, but I'm going to try planting some carrots and beets and see if I can get a fall harvest.
Yeah,
now,
you might be able to pull that off. Do you have a really hard winter?
Yeah, we have a really hard winter, but like some years, our usual first frost is about the second week of September. But some years it doesn't come till October, and sometimes winter doesn't really set in until November, but once it sets in, it's pretty harsh. So like we usually have we're below freezing, so below 0 Celsius or 32. Like we're like highs are below that for long stretches in the winter, and we have had minus 25 Celsius, which is pretty close to the same in Fahrenheit. So
wow.
it's an extreme climate. So, but I'm going to try it. So,
is there stuff that you cannot grow because of that extreme climate?
Oh, I'm sure there is. Like, I guess, like I've kind of found that the succession planting doesn't work too well for me, because like our typical last frost is, I think, like the second week of May, second or third week. So
yeah,
we really only have, like, we have a fairly short season, and it's very intensive.
Yep.
And I think the other thing that is really different about us is because we're fairly close to the Rocky Mountains. So our nighttime lows are pretty low. Like, I think a typical low is about 12 Celsius. So that's what would that be?
40 something?
6, yeah, or 50. I think in the 50s.
Okay.
So, and we can be up to 30, which would be like the mid 80s or so. Like, so we have very big
swings.
Big swings. So some things just can't handle that big swing in temperature. So, or we could have, like, this year was July. We had almost every day was above. It'd be above 90 in Fahrenheit, and whereas typically we're at kind of high 70s or low 80s.
Wow.
And it was just a very hot July. So, and I guess that's what I think when we were talking last time, in my garden I had put the drip in, but then I planted perpendicular, like across them.
Right, the drip irrigation system, yeah.
The drip thing, and I think it worked fine because the drip was more of a supplemental irrigation, or because we were still getting enough kind of rain every once in a while that kind of kept the soil moist. But this year, that just didn't work. We haven't had we had rain. Well, actually, where I live, we actually only got about 1/10 of an inch on Monday. Some other areas got a 1/2 inch, but prior to that, we haven't had any rain. I think it was June 12th. So we're on 7 weeks without rain right now. So I think in a more typical year like what this is for us, that the way I had been doing it isn't going to work. It's not going to work as supplemental. So I want to put in more lines and then start planting them close to the drip lines, like what you showed in your videos there, so that it can survive entirely off of the drip, not just supplemental. So
I have a friend who he's a market gardener. He has a farmer's market, goes to farmer's markets. He has a little vegetable stand, and he showed me, I saw him at the market, and he has a watering system that he can control and monitor with his iPhone, and it has a moisture sensor or several moisture sensors.
Yeah.
And he's not a wealthy guy. He has long tunnel, high tunnel hoop houses and stuff. And so I have to go over there and see this thing, because he's like, if we had rain that day, it won't turn on, and if the moisture is 30% of what it should be, it'll add 70% of the water it should have. So you're saving a lot of water with that technology, and the technology has become so affordable. So
it has. I've seen, even on the agricultural side, I've seen the soil moisture sensors become a lot more affordable. And I'd love to have them for the fields, so for some of my fields, but they're for large scale, like you still have so much variation in the field. You still got to go around and check. But for a garden, or especially for a market garden, that'd be great, because then you wouldn't have to worry about it overwatering or underwatering.
And you can
So
also, using an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, there's a fella on YouTube. He's called it's something engineer. He's this neat guy. I'll link to it in the show notes here. But he has a video about how to make your own Arduino powered watering system with some moisture sensors. And he said, you get what you pay for with moisture sensors, because you can buy them from like Adafruit in some places. So I thought that was interesting. So
yeah, I can see that. So
the other thing, before the show started, you mentioned that you're getting some smoke, and I was like, smoke, and I realized that there are some forest fires west of you.
Yeah, in British Columbia, which is the province that goes onto the west coast, and they're dry there as well, so they're having all kinds of forest fires in there. And we've been fortunate; we haven't had too many days of it. But when I can look out the window now and I can see the clouds in the sky, so I don't think there's as much. I think it's blowing away. But this morning it was smoky enough that the sun, like even when the sun was up fully in the sky, was just a red ball.
Oh wow!
So, yeah. So, and we've had some days. I think. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It'd be still a couple mile visibility, but where the visibility is so bad that once you can't see, you can't see as far as you normally would, like where it's only a few miles that you can.
Right.
That I could see. So yeah, it can be bad. So
that's humbling. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, and I mean too, we're lucky here because like we're in the prairies, and we've been fortunate that there haven't been any big grass fires yet. Now they wouldn't have they're not going to have the impact on towns or cities or that type of stuff as much. But even when I've seen them go, like when a grass fire gets going, it's amazing how fast they can go. And we are just like all around, like when I'm driving around wherever it's grasslands, which is still a fair large portion of the area, it's brown, like everything's just went completely dormant.
Just from the lack of rain.
There's nothing. Yeah. So it's very dry.
Hey, really cool news for those of you that use the Garden Fork affiliate link on Amazon, or if you're thinking about doing that. We now have an official page on the Amazon site. We have the official Garden Fork store, is basically what it is, of things that I've talked about or things that I use and think are useful. It's at amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. So go to amazon.com, put in /shop, SHOP/gardenfork. I'll link to it in the show notes here. And if you go to that page to start any of your shopping experiences, that will greatly help us. We get a finder's fee. It doesn't affect the price you pay. It just says, hey, Garden Fork sent me here. And anything that you buy during that shopping experience, we get a little finder's fee. Always appreciate it. So it's amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. Well,
Yeah.
why don't we jump into the... we were talking a little before, but... I got an article from Mother Earth News that talked about different organic fertilizers. And in the article, they said that synthetic fertilizers, basically the plants don't take up as much as that nutrient. A lot of it leaches away in this. And then I started thinking about it afterward, and I thought, I bet Scott knows something about this. And then you emailed me, so it was kind of kismet there.
Yeah, well, I guess like chemically, and as far as I've ever been taught or understand, like a plant doesn't know a nutrient is synthetic or
organic.
Like plants take things up as molecules. They don't take them up as
has this artisan fertilizer.
Yeah, they don't. Everything is taken up chemically for them. So
it doesn't know if it's Miracle Grow or horse manure.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't know what it is. So, and again, I guess too, with synthetic ones, like, So the plant doesn't know whether which way it is. Now the synthetic ones, like it did talk about the losses, and that might be true. Like because nitrogen is fairly easy to lose in a system. Like if it can either get leached down or, as they say, it can get gassed off. So that's true. That can be true. The other thing is that. And I think it is true that like when they try to study exactly how much of a fertilizer you put down goes into a plant,
Mm-hmm.
it is sometimes fairly low. But when you put the nitrogen in the ground, you've got all those microbes using it too. It's not just the plants that are using it. So it just be added into the system.
Right. There's a diverse range of other organisms there that can use the nitrogen, not just your tomato plant.
Yeah, and I mean, if you put if you put down some whichever type of fertilizer you put it down, if the microbes use it, yes, they've used it right now, but then as they decompose, well then, it'll come back into the system and go into the plants eventually. So it's not as black and white probably as they say, but.
I just get a little suspect of I read a lot of web articles and they'll make a statement saying scientists say X, and I'm like, well, where's the footnote here? Even Wikipedia has footnotes.
Yeah, and I mean too, because I think you had said what they had said that synthetic fertilizers are like giving your kids pop.
Yeah, that's soda for the US.
Well. I would say like synthetic ones would be more like if you just ate, I don't know, say like if you just ate beef and potatoes and carrots every day, all your life, or something like that. Like
it's not as bad as soda.
It's not as bad, but I mean, getting a diverse amounts of food in your body, like having different types of vegetables and different types of meat or different types of protein, and that is going to be better than having the exact same type of protein, starch, and vegetables every single day. Okay. So, the synthetics will help I guess I can't argue with what I see in the field or see in the fields and even see in the garden. They do work. And I mean, if you do a little research on what happened with the Green Revolution, like bringing these type of things to countries that didn't have them, like it makes huge impacts on yield. But
right,
it's maybe not.
People, yeah.
But it's not. I guess. But on the other side of it, it's not the cure, or it's not everything. Like I think that's where all these other ones, like adding manure into the soil or adding compost, it feeds the microorganisms and gives you lots of other nutrients that you may not be able to get entirely from synthetics.
From Miracle-Gro. So what do you use in your own home garden?
I have my own compost that I use.
Oh, there you go.
That I've been making. I just make it with the kitchen scraps and any weeds or stuff, and then leaves that I collect. But I still do add some nitrogen to the plants to help them out. But for the most, I guess most of the nutrients come just from the compost and I did have, I do have the wood mulch in there now, but I think that's actually another one of the changes I'm going to make in the garden is that try to come up with a mulch or something that's going to work a little bit better than the wood. Because I'm finding, and I think I think it was, I did some searching on it, and I think one of the guys that's on the Troy-Bilt, is it Kenny Point?
Yeah, he's one of the Troy-Bilt ambassadors.
And I think there was an article there was some article that I found was, that he talked about using wood mulch on everything except for his veggie garden and this is what I've been finding is it is tough to get things like seeds to grow and transplanting and that, like the wood gets mixed into the soil a little too much. So I'm going to try to find a little better way of doing that. But I mean, the wood mulch over the 5 years that I've been putting it on, it decomposes and adds some nutrients to the soil.
Yeah, because for people that haven't been up to snuff, not up to snuff on this, up to speed. Sorry, Actually, I read about this on Kenny's blog, Veggie Garden Tips, and then Eric Knudsen at Root Simple also wrote about this, is that they there is this thing about putting wood chips in your vegetable garden beds, is that they're a large nitrogen loss for the soil. And there's these blog posts where their point was, if you just put it on top of the soil over already established plants, you're not getting that nitrogen loss. Is that right or wrong? Or
I would think so, yeah, because it's not it's not decomposing it immediately. Over time, yeah, maybe it'll suck a little bit of the nitrogen out, because the wood mulch needs some type of nitrogen source to break down.
Yeah.
Or the microbes that are breaking it down need it. But I think what the other point was is that over time, though, if it's broken down, then the nitrogen isn't lost from the system. It gets released again. So.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah.
So it's still going to be there.
So I guess Go ahead.
I guess that's where the synthetic. If you put too much of the synthetic ones on, that it doesn't hold in the soil, or if it doesn't get used, it can get lost. Whereas in these type of ones, you'll build up your organic matter, and then it'll release it, and you'll get it back. But yeah, there could be a little. There could be a little time when you lose some, but I think if you put it on right away, or once they're growing, it's not gonna take all your nitrogen right there. So.
Because I have a bed of sunflowers, because we just like a little cutting garden, and I had a tree dropped. The tree was too close to the garage, so I wasn't allowed to cut it down. But the guy, my neighbor, he chipped it through a wood chipper, and I have this big pile of wood chips now. So I'm going to take some of those and do a mulch over the already established sunflower plants, and just watch that all summer and fall and see how that all works out. I think that'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be fine. So. Yeah.
So the other thing, I'm always a technology geek, and the last time you were on, you were talking about, for your job, you were using a drone, and I was wondering what other any kind of neat technology or kind of advances that you've been working with lately.
Oh, you cut out there just for a moment on me, but I think you were asking about the drone or the satellite imagery and that type of stuff there.
Well, yeah. What kind of technology could us amateur gardeners look forward to that you get to use on a regular basis?
Well, yeah, I did have the drone for a few years, but I guess the regulation, here in Canada, the regulations were a lot different than in the U.S. There was a lot less regulation. But some of the regulation was catching up. They wanted me to take a flight school to continue using it.
Uh-huh.
And I was just finding that it took a lot of time. Well, not a lot of time, but I guess when I'm out in the field, I'd rather be just going out and looking at the field than flying a drone, which is fun for a while. But after you have to try to do it every week and try to do 30 or 40 fields, it kind of loses its fun after a little while. So
because it's a job at that point.
Because now it's a job, yeah. So, so I've stopped using that, but there's a company called Planet Labs. You may or may not have heard of them. They've been working that for the last 5 years, trying to get. They're these little tiny satellites. They're about the size of a shoebox.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah. And they finally got everything working, because they have a fleet of them up there. I think it's 20 or 30 or something like that of them. And so what their promise was is that they'd be imaging the Earth every day, because most other satellites give you, they're on a 5-day or 10-day orbit.
Right.
But they want to image the Earth every day. And so that's finally working. And there's a company that tailors to the agriculture side called Farm Shots, and I've been working with them this year. They basically are the ones that kind of pull the data and get into a useful form for me. But it has been working pretty good, where you get if it's a clear day, which because of our hot dry weather it has been, you get a new image every day. And and I don't need a new image every day, but it basically means that once or twice a week I should get a fairly clear image of all the fields. So, and then I can I actually load them up onto an app on the iPad, and just then I can use that to go out and look at the look at the fields with it. So like it'll show me my GPS location on a map, and I can go check out, if it's showing problem areas or something, something I want to go look at. Yeah. So
how do you know if there's a problem area? Is it a different color or something, or?
Yeah, because they do like a
infrared or?
Yeah, it's an index of the, I forget exactly how it is, what the formula is, but it's with the infrared and the far red or something like that. But it gives kind of a plant health. So it's you can see it earlier on the index than you'd see it just looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yeah, it's an index, kind of good to bad. And so of course, like during the growing season, sometimes the patterns don't really change, but if I see a new pattern in the field or something different, then yeah, I can go out and take a look at it and see what's going on there. So it's nice.
Do you have an example of something recently that you got to solve because of the satellite imagery, or?
Yeah, actually, let's see here. Well, actually, even just right now, I had put it out on Twitter, is that because we were looking at for getting the fields ready for harvest, for just looking for maturity, because they'll, the plants will, some areas will be a little slower than others, and using that, I can kind of see the, or the image on there shows me, like normally in season, like the high growth areas are the good areas that, you don't have to worry about.
Right.
But in this instant, as it's maturing, looking for the high growth areas, or the relatively high growth areas, it helps me to go to the part of the field to look for the least mature areas. So when you're looking at harvest time, then that's the most important thing, is, you need to know when the entire field's mature.
Right, so you can
ready to harvest.
Right, you can point the tractor at this field rather than that field.
So yeah, so you know which field is ready, or at least, so when I go to the field, when you're looking at this field, I can go to the part that I know is going to be the least mature, so then I can go in there and check and see how the crop is, not just driving around and getting out and looking at different places. I can just go to the part that I need to go to. So
because you have the GPS in the iPad, and you can walk. You're basically your position is overlaid on the satellite image, and you walk into the field and you're like, oh, I'm right where I want to be.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's really nice for that. So, and I haven't had it, like, I guess it's been a good thing. I haven't had any other real big issues. But say if there was an area starting to get drowned out, or if there was disease or something that was taking over a spot that I hadn't seen with my eyes, like maybe if I saw a spot show up one week that wasn't there the previous week, well, then I can walk out to it and see if I can figure out what the issue is there. So, but yeah, it's been really helpful. So
excellent. Mm-hmm. So our last topic is a total 180 from that, but you documented and posted on the Facebook group pictures of your treehouse that you built last year, and we wanted to follow up and see how that all worked out.
Yeah. Well, actually, I used the group to get some advice on how to go about it, or
isn't that great?
What I should. Yeah. Well, I think I put up some plans and pictures, and then got some feedback on it, and kind of put up stuff over time. It was a slow process getting it all built, but it was the tree is a Mayday, which they're not really good for, like, there's no parts on it that were strong enough to actually attach a treehouse to.
Uh-huh.
And so I basically just kind of built and it's a funny shaped tree. Like, it's more like it's got many large branches kind of come from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's more just a platform built into the tree.
All right.
yeah, it was the first time I'd ever built anything like that, and I ended up too. Like I didn't anchor it down into the ground because in the same areas where a lot of the utilities run into the house.
Oh yeah.
So I also didn't really look forward to having to dig post holes and stuff like that. So I actually just put, I think they were 6x6s, like a square around the tree, and then there was these special braces there that would hook into it. Then you could put 4x4s up. And
right. I think they're called hurricane brackets. So
okay.
Or they're used for roof trusses and stuff. So
yeah, so it worked pretty good, and yeah, it's just, and the neat thing is that it with the way the tree is there, the best way to get into it is just there's a trapdoor in the floor, and you just climb up the tree and into the tree house, and then it's nice because then there's no, once you're up there, there's no doors or anything. It's just, it's
360 view.
So yeah, it's nice. So it's worked out pretty good. So
is there something you would have done different now that it's finished, or?
Not actually. I think nothing really major. And I put I used chains to support it, like I made chains that so instead of making braces, because again the tree is kind of in the way for a lot of braces, so it's just chains that go diagonally across from each post, from the top to bottom of each post, and then I have just turnbuckles on it just to kind of tighten it up. So, but no, I can't really think of anything. It actually seems to have come out fairly well. So
wow, that's unusual in my world. So
no, there's nothing really, like, it was more just kind of just building it, kind of having an idea and then just going with it. So it worked out pretty good. So
cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. So is there any particular social media place you like people to come find you if they have more questions, or?
Twitter is what I use the most. So, and so it's at Cowboy Junkie, and it's spelled like cowboy, COWBOY JUNKEY.
All right.
So. And
I'll put that in the show notes too. So.
And that's actually because it's not because I'm actually into country anything really. It's there's a band here in Canada called the Cowboy Junkies.
Sweet. It works for me.
They're spelled just junkies, like the usual way you would spell that, but I switched the spelling on it and it seemed to work in the internet world. So
yeah, you weren't
nobody else
flagged
seems
for
to
spam.
Nobody seems to have that. So yeah,
well, cool.
That's the best way to catch me. So.
All right, so I'll link to all that in our show notes here, and if you guys have questions, it's radio@gardenfork.tv, and if you go to Facebook and type in Garden Fork Discussion Group, our group comes up, and Scott is there a lot if you want to ask questions or post pictures of your garden, or if you are an agronomist as well, you could post your satellite photos.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thanks for taking the time, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.